Zeke Jones, appreciate you taking some time to join us today out there in Tempe, Arizona in this beautiful August weather, I'm sure. How's everything treating you out there?
Well, when it's 110, it's a little tough, although we're starting to get the backside of our heat. But
Mm-hmm.
we've had a lot of monsoons. You know what a monsoon is, or a habu?
It's a lot of rain from
Yep,
from the ocean, maybe? Wait, you guys aren't by
yep.
the ocean.
But it comes up from the sea.
Okay.
It comes up from the Gulf of Mexico, or from the Mexican Baja. It comes up through California, and these rainstorms, they kind of circle from east to west.
Okay.
It comes off the water, and we get a ton of rain. But you get these habus too, which is a big giant dust storm that you ever see. Like there's land, and then you see this dust storm coming straight across, clear on this side and dark on this side. And it just comes right across the city. So we've been getting a bunch of those. It's nothing like anything if you ever grew up in the Midwest or the East you've ever seen till you move here.
No, it sounds like the grapes of wrath.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, we have no natural disasters, nothing, no tornadoes, no earthquakes. I mean, the worst we get is a dust storm
It could be worse. It could
or a
be
lot of
worse.
heat.
And speaking of heat, you guys had a lot of it this summer. You obviously come from the freestyle background. Your guys' freestyle, not team, but guys from your team that are making world teams and performing this summer and fall is quite a bit, right?
Yeah, it's chaos right now. We have, national team members, world team members on junior freestyle, junior Greco, senior freestyle, senior Greco, men, women. We still have a couple world championships left to go to, and it's going to be that first time where you have postseason going on with the preseason of the college team. But when you have the number one wrestling club in the world, and the club is 8 miles from Tempe, and the owner of the club went to Arizona State, it's the best club in the world. You're going to have a natural inclination to have guys that want to be the best in the world training with you.
And you're bringing along, you got a new addition to the staff, Jamil Kelly, right? So you're like bringing more of this freestyle into your program. Do you feel it's necessary, or not? Maybe necessary is the word, to bring guys with freestyle experience in to be assistant coaches?
Yeah, I mean, we're training, men and women, national team, world team year round. So you got to have more than just me doing it. And it's been great. Lee coached the cadet world team. Chris coached the junior Pan Am or the senior Pan Am team. Jamil's been a World Olympic coach, myself. And so we're constantly busy working with, our teams, getting ready all the time. So we're closely connected to USA Wrestling. How could you not be? We love the training center. We love training with the national team. And so it's nonstop all the time, man, 100 miles an hour.
And Jamil's, is he on staff with Arizona State? Is he just a club coach?
Yep. Nope, he's on our coaching staff, one of our full-time coaches. I know they call him volunteers, but he's not volunteer. He's working his butt off. He's getting paid real good. But he's just like any of the coaches on the staff. He's helping lead the RTC programming that we're doing. That's where we need a lot of help because, we got 2 kids wrestling in Brazil this weekend in the Junior Pan Ams. We got a Chad Porter wrestling in the Junior Worlds. He's helping coordinate that effort. Some of our incoming commitments are working on world teams and getting ready to compete. So we never stop. And Jamil's been a critical piece. We've like anything, we had growing pains.
Sure.
When I got here, the team was 65th in the country, had 1 kid that it was a qualifier to the NCAA tournament. That's all we had here. Now we had 6 in the finals of the trials. The freestyle program and Greco has boomed, and we just couldn't keep up with the workload. So bringing Jamil's a tremendous piece of the puzzle that we needed to fill, and we got a good one.
And as you guys move towards, like you said, they're going to kind of overlap the end of one season, the beginning of the other. As it moves into September and even October, maybe, how do you find that balance? Do you have separate practices, or most of the freestyle guys practice with the college kids?
Well, right now we start school on Thursday, so it's about to hit.
Yeah.
With that overlap, where school's starting, but we're still in full swing of the postseason freestyle. We'll do RTC practices. We'll strength condition in the morning, RTC practices in the afternoon, and then you can't officially start wrestling practice till October. So, we have guys training freestyle all the way through that time anyways, getting ready for the World Olympic team. So, we're doing it all the time, all the time.
Awesome. Incoming or recruiting classes looking forward, maybe without getting through any specifics that you may not talk about. How do you feel about what's on the horizon?
Well, it's fantastic, right? As you know, we're not allowed to comment on commitments. We can just tell you who we're recruiting, but obviously we got a great announcement a couple weeks ago and a tremendous asset to the program, as well as all the incoming recruits. And, even, and the one we can talk about who just landed on campus was Ja'Cory Teamer, right? He was just in my office an hour ago and finishing up some paperwork to be ready to be cleared for the season. But not only is he here, but the commitments that we got that they'll sign in November, they're fantastic. And we're really happy with the group that's going to be coming in. And we're not done. Recruiting's coming up, as you know, it's never ends, but we got a lot of kids coming on campus in September and October, some of the best kids in the country. So we're in a good spot.
All right, Zeke. So you're I think 4 years into your tenure or your coaching at Arizona State. Are you happy with where you guys are? Do you feel like you should be further along 4 years after you take the job, or are you further than where you think you should be?
Well, I think most people would say we're probably ahead. I think that's probably created some of the excitement. When we came here, the team was 65th in the country. It had one wild card to the NCAA tournament. Put a lot of time and attention into recruiting. And right out of the gate, number one recruiting class, that was key. But today's world, number one recruiting class, that's juniors in high school, right? That number one recruiting class got in the lineup last year as freshmen and this past year as sophomores. So it's really that group's been leading well. We're putting some groups in behind it. Spent a lot on that class. So, it's certainly an issue of money too, right? Scholarship. But once we added that, Pendleton and Jordan Oliver came, Heislan Garcia, Ed Ruth was kind of the starting group. And obviously Jordan and Ed have moved on. But obviously bringing a guy like Nashawn in, Vicky Anthony, Kevin Radford winning a U.S. Open and Greco from here. So I think we've done well. We've done it fast, but nobody's happy. Like I said, Penn State probably isn't happy either, right? So everybody's fighting, climbing to the top, but certainly a top 10 finish last year, an undefeated national champ shows that you can do it pretty quickly.
Sweet. It sounds like I'm hearing rumblings that you guys have a new opponent on your schedule potentially for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, we're getting ready to announce a 2-year agreement with obviously a very good team. I don't want to be the first one to say it without them being able to say it too at the same time, but I think it's what everybody's been wanting to see, a team that we haven't wrestled on our schedule, that everybody wants to wrestle, and they set the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll call them Team of the Decade. You guys can figure out who that is. The 2 horses that most people know in this program are Nashawn, Zahid. Nashawn's been there for 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. And, when he came out of college, there was a lot of buzz. Oh, my gosh, this kid's going to be the future in freestyle and this and that. And it took him a few years to get onto a team. Does that surprise you at all? Did you think he was ready right away? And if not, what's the differences? What's he worked on and got better at, on, off the mat, mentality, technique? I don't know.
Sure. He graduated, in 2016, and right out of college went to the trials, and everybody saw, man, he's got the gift. Graduated, took the summer, moved here, and he's, I think, just newfound freedom away from college for 1 year. Met a girl in Israel, was doing a lot of travel at the time, and he was distracted. He was distracted for a year, on and off, really wasn't training at the level he needed to. And I think he said, you know what, enough's enough. I got to buckle down. She has since been here, and that's been key. He's more stable in his training, and he really has put an excellent year in. And everything that you saw at that trials when he graduated, we saw this past year, right, at the trials. It's up to Nashawn, right, how good he is. I mean, he's got world-class speed. He's obviously Ivy League educated. He's extremely brilliant, a great wrestling mind, a great human, understands, setback, failure to propel you forward to be great. And right now he's on the cusp. Do you think that, he's making some of the final adjustments that he thinks he needs heading into the World Championships? But there's no doubt he can be the best in the world. He's got to put, obviously, a couple more good months of training, but he certainly is the guy that has the most potential to win a World Olympic gold medal in that weight class. And now, needs to show it and prove it.
Sure. And I know we have Budapest in front of us and then another year before we get talk about 2020, but is that on the mind, like 65 or 57? He's kind of caught in between.
Yeah, he's got to figure it out. I don't think he's cutting much weight for 61. I think, obviously 57 is more the direction, but you never know how his body changes over the next 2 years. But, he's, he'll figure that out. I think right now wants to win a world title, wants to show that he can be the best in the world. And, but that decision, like most guys, are going to have to make that in the next 2 years, year and a half.
Sure. Zahid, obviously, man, great NCAA season, great postseason. Makes it, beats Derringer, gets the Dake, loses some close matches. But back to the Derringer, a lot of us, me and people I talk to, we get excited and chat about what could be, who might wrestle who, and boom, it looks like it's going to be Derringer and Zahid. It is. What were your thoughts going into that match? Did you have, were you confident he could win? Did you think, I guess we'll see what happens? Derringer's a beast, he's having a great season.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Alex is one of the best in the world, right? I mean, he's proven that time and time again. The advantage that we get that you don't get is we get to see these guys train together every day in the Olympic Training Center, to training camps around, the different RTCs. And, one person he has got to work out with is Alex. And so I think he's a little more familiar with Alex. I wasn't surprised at the outcome. I think some others can be,
sure,
because they've never seen what I got to see. I do think that it's not over. Alex, it doesn't mean that you get, just because you beat somebody twice doesn't mean you get to always beat them. Right. I could see Alex coming back, improve, making the adjustments. That's what this thing's about. It's a chess game over time. It's not just what you do today. It's what you're doing over the next 2 years. You got to continue to improve. But I just think to see he has that ability. I think it showed, obviously, when he wrestled Dake. Even then, a 4-0 loss in the first match turned into a head by a point with a minute to go, and actually made a critical mistake for him, which one he doesn't do very often, and lost 4-3. But just from one match to the next, even like Nashon, who lost the first match, won the next match pretty close and dominated the third. I think our guys are pretty good at making adjustments. We make good adjustments throughout the match and competition, but certainly now we got to go back to work. We got good information.
Sure. What was that? And just remind me, what was the mistakes that he'd made against Dake at
Well, he took a shot he didn't need, right? He's up by a point, minute and a half maybe to go, and he took a shot, kept his head down, and Dake crotch lifted him through for 2.
That's right.
And yep. And anybody else he could probably do that too. Not Kyle, right? Kyle's very good there. And it's, you can do anything you want to 99.9% of the wrestlers in the world until you run into the 1 percentile, and you have to stay out of that area that they're world-class champion, exceptional ability type guys, and that cost him.
Sure. Okay. I want to see that one again. I don't know if we will. They might go separate ways as far as weight classes, but as a fan, I'd love to see it. I want to talk about your career a little bit, and we chatted about this, and the whole Chamizo Burroughs thing going on. Jordan Burroughs, we know him. Chamizo, we know him. Chamizo's training in New York City. He's Jordan's probably toughest competition. They split so far for the Worlds, and some people think that's BS that we're letting him train in the U.S. Jordan says, I don't care. I have a small group that I train with anyways. But you had a similar situation back in your career. Is that right?
Yeah, this isn't anything new. I think people are always trying to seek out the best wrestlers in the world, or trying to seek out locations they feel can make them better. And it sometimes means different countries. Valentin Jordanov, 8-time world Olympic champion. He lived in Philadelphia about 2 hours from me when I was living in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania in 1991 and 92. And John DuPont was sitting in his corner. He was training at Foxcatcher with Dave Schultz and, that whole group of guys. And, I didn't care. I mean, guy's going to train where he thinks he needs to go. And if it means training with other Americans or other people, they're going to eventually have somewhere to train that is going to be good. I guess you can make the argument, right? You're funding someone that otherwise wouldn't have funding from an American source. You're Americans, but I didn't care. He could train anywhere he wants. Bottom line is I got to beat him. But I can get, how other people feel about it. I could see that other side and say it makes sense, but champions don't make excuses. And Jordan's not going to allow an excuse to say, well, yeah, that's bull crap. Somebody got money and, they're training here. Man, I got to beat you no matter what. I got to figure you out. I got to do the job. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you do. I got to beat you, and I'm going to beat you. That's the mentality you have to have. But, there are times when you're like, man, that guy's over in Philadelphia training. I'm 2 hours away in central Pennsylvania, and he's eastern Pennsylvania, and we both want to be the best. We're the two best in the world. Obviously, won 8 titles. He's, one of the greatest of all time. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You got to win. Got to get the job done. Get your hand raised.
That's your perspective now. Was that your perspective then when you were training?
Yeah, it really was. It didn't bother me. Other people didn't like it. Bobby Douglas didn't like it. He hated it. But me, like I said, I wasn't going to make an excuse. So, he was training at Foxcatcher, and I beat him in the World Championship Finals, but didn't wrestle him in the Olympics. So, he got beat in the semis by the North Korean that I wrestled. So I just wouldn't get hung up on it too much. But I do appreciate the fact that people want to fight for me because we're Americans. That does feel good. But at the end of the day, Jordan Burroughs got to do the job. He's got to train. And, obviously we look at that American team, and it's 2 years from now. Yeah. 2 years from now, you look at the bell curve of age. You look at where world medals are coming in at 18, 19 years old, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32 years old. We have a team that's getting at the end of that bell curve with some young ones coming up. But it can be so what? I mean, Chris Campbell won a medal at 37. Dave won at 35. You can still win it old. So it's going to be interesting to see the youth and the older guys mix together. Not to take it off subject, but
yeah. So you're telling me there's a chance. I'm thinking about coming back. I'm barely 38. I'm almost 39.
You can do it,
but whatever.
You can do it, Bader. Awesome. You can do it, man.
All right, I'm in.
Let's do it.
We're talking about international wrestling. U.S. having a lot of success, and I think a big reason of that is the RTC system, which was implemented when you were coach, Team USA coach, 7, 8 years ago maybe. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were kind of instrumental in the development of that. I know kind of how it went about, but I don't really. Can you walk me through that process and how the idea came to be, and then how it's taking that idea and implementing it and actually letting it happen takes place?
Yeah, sure. When I became the head coach of the national team in 2008, right after Beijing, it was the low-hanging fruit in my mind. I thought, we can be so much better in this area, but what did that mean? I always had the feeling that the program had a focus of centralizing in Colorado Springs. My idea was, why have one Colorado Springs? Why not have 5 of them? Have more training centers. So why don't we, instead of trying to, and as you know, the college coaches, they don't like it when you're trying to grab their guys and move them to Colorado. They don't like it. So I went to all those coaches and said, hey, I'm not trying to bring them here. I'm trying to make your site better. What do we need to do to make it better? And let's start putting resource into your program, into your regional training center. So I said, we'll make a commitment to help do that. In return, make a commitment to the national team to work together so we can be the best in the world. Because in 2008, everybody's got short memories, I think now. I couldn't tell you how many people were saying America will never win again. The program isn't going to win. It's over. Folk style, freestyle are far apart. The Russians are too far ahead. America's, focused on rolling through the legs and, and I just said, that's bullcrap, that we can be great. We just have to figure out what assets we have that we're good at. And we can't make excuses for things we don't have. Every country has its limitations.
Sure.
So when we started to put energy into RTC, It was good timing. Tommy Rowlands was super excited about seeing Ohio State build after the model that really Iowa and Arizona State did. Now you got to roll back to the 70s and 80s when this isn't an uncommon thing. It just never was organized. Iowa had a lot of national titles in a row, had a lot of guys training there. And then Bobby Douglas and Art Martori got together and said, okay, if we're going to make a run at beating Iowa, we have to start building a regional training center. They called it a wrestling club, right? Yeah. Same thing. And we had, when I was living here, Kevin Jackson, Melvin Douglas, Townsend Saunders, myself, we had 4 on the world team just right there, let alone James Johnson and Greco and, and a slew of national team members. Well, Tommy Rowlands knew that. He knew that he'd seen that model before. And he goes, we're going to put some money behind the Ohio RTC. And I said, Tommy, I'll help you. Let's build your RTC, as well as we're going to build any that want to do it. Well, Cale came from Bobby. He isn't stupid. He knows I need an RTC too. So at that time, Tommy Rowlands got going in 2008, 9, 10 when Tervel came out. And it was good timing for Ohio RTC because you had Rowlands, you had Rowlands who was finishing up the end of his career, but you had Gavin and Tervel and James, J.D. Bergman, and Reese all kind of coming at the same time, and it was perfect timing for them. Then here comes Penn State. David Taylor comes over, Roos there, and then Cale says, I already know the model. We're going to do it too. So we had Ohio State and Penn State go boom, and then I actually said people felt the RTCs. Now it's more. It was more reckless. I said no. Actually, what you had is we brought rules to it. Yeah. You show me a list of rules before 2009 for these wrestling clubs around the country. Because they said, hey, now it's the Wild Wild West. And I said, actually, no, we're trying to get rid of the Wild Wild West. What we're trying to do is formalize the rules so everybody can do this and have a successful regional training center. Because the climate, too, at the time, and I'll try not to go so far on it, but the climate at the time was the smaller budgeted schools were saying, hey, that's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair for a long time. And I get it. I don't blame them. However, the Olympians were getting hurt by it. And I started to say, what about our Olympic hopefuls? When do we fight for them? When is it their turn to have a place to train, support, and help and assistance? And we know that's going to be in the university system. You could try moving to Colorado Springs, but Penn State, Ohio State, they're not allowing their guys. They don't want them to leave. They want to keep them. Yeah. So you had to decide what you were going to do. So we decentralized the model, went to the RTCs, really the universities, and partnered with them to say, let's build your sites. Did it make it harder on the small budget of schools? Yes, but there's limitations to their programs anyways, right? With 5 scholarships, 4 in their program, and I know it's more difficult for them. But when do we fight for the Olympic hopefuls? Mm-hmm. And so at that point, we started working with the NCAA and said, hey, we want to work with the NCAA to do this right. Let's create a set of rules that can make this fair across the board, but help the Olympic hopefuls at the time. And that was when the Power 5 conferences were saying, hey, why are we having all these rules? Kids can't eat. They're stealing toothpaste out of a grocery store, or toilet paper, things that you need to live. So the timing was good because they started to loosen the rules so kids would have a chance to, live a better life and within the rules, of course. Yeah. So it was perfect timing. The RTCs got organized. We started putting money into their programs, and I say money and support assistance. And now you have a RTC model that is really, really, I think, has empowered the U.S. to be great again.
You're taking credit for the USA winning a team title last year?
Nope. I think
I'm kidding.
It's been fun to watch. No, and I appreciate it. I do think it had something to do with it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think when you're the national coach, can you make a difference? Absolutely. Can you affect technique? Absolutely. It takes longer, though. So what you do today necessarily doesn't always permeate within the program right now. Yeah. But it's definitely a mid to long-term approach. I mean, you can do small things today, but, man, to move a mountain, it takes time. And right now, that mountain has moved. I do think it's got to keep moving though, and I have some concerns whether are we sustaining this model and are we making the adjustments? Because you can't stay the same forever, right? You got to keep adjusting because the world's adjusting.
Yeah.
So my hope is that they are, and it makes me nervous sometimes. Are these going to make it? Are they going to last?
What are you said you have some concerns. Could you share any of those of what you might be concerned?
I think you got to say it out loud at some point.
Yeah.
If you want something to happen, I do think because we had a set of rules that we worked with the NCAA, USA Wrestling, we were working together and continue to work together.
Sure.
Make no mistake, I know Cody Bickley is working with the NCAA religiously on it. I do think, though, because of the monumental growth in dollars that have went into the RTCs, I do think that begs for more compliance. I think they're getting creative, and they should.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting to watch it get creative. But I do also think that RTCs are USA Wrestling structures, organizations, and so they need to be monitored as coaches get creative. And is it making the U.S. programs better? Absolutely. But obviously it impacts college programs. It can make them better too, or worse, whatever choices they make. But it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. Obviously, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club has taken to the next level. They've set the bar. And why lower their bar? We have to strive for theirs. And not only strive for it, pass it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raise the bar.
Well, let's hope that they continue moving in the right direction because it's obviously it's winning. It's being effective. It's working. Last thing I really want to touch on is half freestyle, half college, I guess. Just what are the differences, right? What do you like more, pros and cons maybe of college versus senior level coaching?
Yeah, no, it's fun coaching both of it. Before you do coaching, takes me back to that 2008 time when we felt our rules were far apart. One of the things we started to put energy into is say, hey, let's not make folk style, freestyle, folk style. Let's just try to move them closer together. Anytime we're looking at rules, we should look at it to make the sport better. But if we can get them closer together, that helps America, right? Do we want to help our country, right? We all do. So we want to move those rules closer together. I think Stan did a good job a few years ago of helping that along. Will it stay? I don't know. Let's hope it does. But I also think that right now, when coaches are making decisions on their technical and tactical plan, strategic plan for the season, I know we're always looking for moves that transition on both sides, right? If I'm doing something that works great in folk style, I want it to also work good in freestyle. And I get it can't be dollar for dollar, but we're choosing technique that works in both versus, well, let's take this technique only works in one, but not the other. Right. We're not doing that unless it's absolutely necessary, right? And I think the good coaches are all doing that. They should be.
Awesome. All right, Zeke, there's one last thing. I don't know if you got time for this, but I'm trying to incorporate a joke segment. We're trying to have some fun here and get some laughs. I've heard you're an amazingly funny guy. That's what everybody tells me.
Okay. Well, it's actually fun. You guys, the guys on my team can tell you, we start practice off with joke of the day. We line the team up, tell them what's going on for the week, things that they need to take care of school, and then we say, okay, joke of the day. And I have to say Connor Small on our team has led the way for the team when nobody wants to tell a joke, scared to tell a joke. Connor usually steps up, but Belashe's been doing pretty good. Zahid's throwing a few out. I'm waiting on Anthony Valencia. He's still hanging out there. Ali Nazir needs to step it up. But you got to step up at joke of the day. So has to be PG-13 or less. And so my joke of the day would be, what happens when a frog's car breaks down? It gets towed away.
Towed away. You didn't give me time to get it. I don't think I would have, but it gets towed away.
Thank you.
The inaugural joke of the day.
Yep, joke of the day on FloWrestling. You guys should open with it. We do it every day.
I appreciate it. Well, in this case, we're closing with it, but I appreciate you telling that. Zeke Jones.
Anytime.
Anything else you care to share?
No, we're excited, trying to build wrestling in the West. It's funny to see, the NCAA right now, they're looking at the West as a growth opportunity. They're saying, hey, East Coast is solid, Midwest is doing well. If we want the sport to grow, we want it to grow in the West. So the NCAA's making a targeted effort to see strength in the West. Obviously, Fresno State's done a fantastic job. We're working at it. Man, let's just build the sport. Let's have a great season. Let's win a world team title. Let's go have a great NCAA season and have some fun.
Awesome.
Joke of the day.
Hopefully all that comes true, Zeke. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Wish you guys the best of luck in your upcoming freestyle endeavors and in the NCAA season.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
All right, take care, Zeke. Thanks.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, you too.